All right, I'm going to shoot a video here for the Playdemic has announced a new tournament, the Northern Open tournament. So we've got the Sakura Hills 9-hole Cup, and then next week starts the Northern Open. It's going to be at Maple Bay and Nordic Fjord holes. Let's see if they're going to make it available. So it's going to be in you can play Nordic Fjords in Tour 4. Maple Bay will not be available to people who play Ricky. And there's a couple of the holes from Maple Bay that I do not have video. So I set up a playlist. You go to my Auto channel. Thanks for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I set up a Northern Open scouting report, and I put in I'm missing hole 2 and I'm missing hole 9. So I've got holes 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Put together a playlist that'll show some of the holes. I may not be playing them that way, but it'll at least show you one way. I know for sure there's one of the par 3s on there that there's a rough bump that I'm going to play. All right, pen and paper if you don't already have this down. So like if you use Golf Clash Notebook as a scouting stuff and you're using it, here's the holes. Hole number 1 is Maple Bay hole number 1. Hole number 2 is Maple Bay hole number 6. Hole number 3 is Nordic Fjords hole number 3. Hole number 4 is Nordic Fjords hole number 8. Hole number 5 is Nordic Fjords hole number 2. Hole number 6, Maple Bay hole number 9. Hole number 7 is Nordic Fjords hole number 6. Hole number 8 is Maple Bay hole number 3. And hole number 9 is Maple Bay hole number 2. Starting off on hole number 1, Maple Bay number 1. Okay, there are 3 legitimate ways to play this hole, and I've had tons of success playing. We do the 3 different ways. You can lay it up out here in front, and it is super easy here. If your ball rolls out at the end, it is super easy to end up in the sand down here, because once it starts rolling off, it's done. It's going to roll off. I mean, if you don't get to the sand, that is a huge exception. So it's best to just lay up at front. And I believe I was using a Hornet coming in somewhere between mid and minimum club, like pretty much right in between. I was doing like a 10% adjustment. There is a shot from over here that you can take, and you can do a rough bump and come at it. So a lot of this may have to depend on the wind. So if the wind, depending on which way the wind's blowing, obviously if you've got the wind behind you, it's always better. Because if you make a slight over or under adjustment, you're going to the cup. You're still going to the cup because the wind's going in that direction. So those are the 2. There is a way to get on. You could try and bring out a big ball and try and get on. You got to get it absolutely spot on. And you're coming out into this area right here. So with a 3 power ball, where your red line stuff at, you're just barely clearing this. So if you bring out a bigger ball, you can get farther out in there and try and get your bounces right. APOC 5, 4, something that's got a little bit of curl on it like that. An extra mile might get it done, especially if you got an 8 or a 9. You got all your curl and all the power, especially if you got a 9. But there are several different ways that we can come at this hole. I think for me, I'm probably going to do this layup shot right here because I like these types of shots with a short iron where you've got room instead of having to. This is the type of hole that you can come at it when you come at the green, and with this wide open view right here. If you can get out to the end, you got a nice straight shot. You have to put very little on the ball. If you epic fail, you're just one side or the other of the cup. You didn't make the hole-in-one, or you didn't get the eagle, and you move on to the next hole. You get caught up in the rough. Sometimes these roughs, it just depends on which way the wind's blowing. So a lot of times in roughs, while it's not, you really have to know your wind adjustment when you're playing rough bumps, because it's better as a player when the wind is blowing like this. Because if you overpull or underpull, you're still going to hit in the rough and it's still going to bounce out and you're going to end up bleeding off towards the green. But from trying to really get the shot into the cup, it's always better if you have a tailwind here. And if you have a tailwind and you're pulling up against this shallow of a rough area, you really have to watch your bounces. So that first bounce that comes in there, like the first time you take the shot, really watch, because if you set yourself up where you're dead center in the middle of that rough and you hit a little forward and you had a tailwind, you need to take out a little bit more. You need to add on a little bit of wind. If you're hitting forward, you almost missed it. You probably should, like if you missed it on this side, you should take more out or get my brain to work with my mouth. If you almost miss the rough and end up in the fairway, you should add more wind on. Make a bigger adjustment. If you're too close to the sand, then you almost over pulled, so you can take a little bit of wind off. But these types of areas can be tricky, and you really have to know the numbers. This area right out here is a little more forgiving, but this is where short irons shine on this type of shot. And it's flat up in here. You can get a nice, good look at it where you don't get an irregular bounce or anything weird happen, and really go for it. I've had a lot of success on this shot, and I'm probably going to continue to go with that shot in this next tournament. All right, there you have it. I've made a decision on that hole. That was hole number 1. Hole number 2 is Maple Bay, hole number 6. Some of these holes, I've only played them a few times. This hole right here, there is definitely a rough bump. There is a bunch of different ways that you can play this hole. Safety wise, I've seen people, like, you can hit back out here and try and use this as a racetrack to bring it around. And there are some holes out there that lend themselves to it. But this hole right here, it is way, like the tee box is way up here and you are way down here. This hole, this picture here does not do this hole justice as far as how high you are when you're up here on the tee box and how low you are. When you're up here and you're down here, it is literally like this. And it is in a very short period of time. So there are several, you can get down into this corner. Right here, you can see the shadow, where the shadow runs along right here. So this area right here is flat. And this area here runs uphill. And it's all kind of coming down where you're coming down in this direction, trying to get down on it. And this runs pretty straight down. So you can get up into this area right here and you can try and engage this hill and use backspin to come at it. That shot is like pretty guaranteed that you're going to get a birdie and move along. Because this is a par 3 right here that'll eat a whole bunch of people in your bracket. It will eat their lunch at least once. And it's one of those types of holes. There is a rough bump that you can do on this, though. If you bring out the right club that's got enough topspin, you can take this with a sniper, and I'm not sure which ball. And you can get down here, and this is one of those ones, just like on the last hole, where you absolutely need to know your number. You can get up here and try and just do a backspin shot. But realistically, if you're actually trying to go for hole-in-one, this rough bump is probably the best way. These types of shots where you're trying to roll down the hill like this, and the hill is running, so it's steeper over here than it is over here. So it's tilted up on this end, and it's not one of those hills that you're just rolling down it. You're rolling and it's dropping at the same time. It's just hard to get it just right. But from right out here, you have a really serious chance. All right, that was hole number 6. That was hole number 2 of the Northern Open. Hole number 3 of the Northern Open is going to be Nordic Fjords. First of the Nordic Fjord holes, and we got a par 5. Nordic Fjords hole number 3. Some of these holes, there's a few of these holes that we just played not too long ago, and this isn't one of them. I'm sure, and there's several holes in the game, and there's several holes that they've changed, that if you're playing from the upper tees, you probably have to play out into this area. And so this is why this is on here. And Ricky, this area out here is not a good area to hit. We don't have, if you have a wind that's running in this direction, this is a long ways from out here to get to the green. And it's a tough shot because you got to get through this or start off up in here where you can really go at the hole. It's a tough shot from out here. And when these holes first came out, we didn't have as many Power 5 balls in our arsenal as we have right now. And from way down on the very end with a big Power 5 ball, and probably you could probably get away with a Guardian if you had an upper developed Guardian as far as ball guide. But obviously, if you could get in your sniper range, you'd be better off because you'd have more ball guide. The other way to go, and this little finger out here, I'm not sure if you got all the way down here if you have a shot. I don't think you do because of the sand trap. Because the shot that I want to take starts off right here, and from the tee box, we draw some lines here. Let's get out as far as we can. So I want to end up somewhere like I'm okay with somewhere like if we count this as the half, just on the other side of the halfway mark in this island. If I can get farther forward, the better. But somewhere on that side of that line is perfectly fine. And if you're right there on the line and you bring the right clubs, you're fine. So you don't have to get greedy on this in order to get a shot to get up on there. Obviously, if you get a little bit more greedy and you try and get all the way to the end, you have very little control over your ball. And so let's draw a line all the way to the end out there. Okay, and your red line is right about here with a 3 power ball. So you're not going to start off over here and try and stick it. Not unless you bring out a really big ball. And your red line's probably more realistically about up in here with a 3 power ball. So you could get over with a 5 power ball and then try and stick it on up there. But you can start off right in this corner with a 3 power ball or a 4 power ball. A 4 power ball like the firework balls. Kingmaker X, those would work really well. Something that cuts the wind down on the backside, like if you have a 4 power 4 wind, something that cuts the wind down to give you an even better shot at the cup might help. But starting off about 2 to 3 rings in this area, at least 2.5. And the deal is that 2.5 rings get you started off and you're going in the wrong damn direction. So you've got to cover this gap with curl. Now you can pinch yourself up on this rough down here, this rough that's in here. So you got that rough going in there and you can pinch yourself up against it. But if you hit anything great to the right, you're sunk. And if you're sunk here, if you're way up front up here, you might be able to recover off of the island. If you've got a Nirvana or a long hitting rough iron that's got some topspin, if you're way up here. But if you're back here or you're up here and you screw up, you're sunk. So you've got to get past that red line and get forward. And even from up here to try and start off on the green side is a wood shot. So it's a long shot from up here. I think if you get up in the very front, you've probably got, if you had like a 4 or 5 power ball and you got all the way to the front, you might be able to eke yourself into your long iron range. But I don't think so. I think from most of the shots that we're going to take on this, we're going to end up being in wood range. What we really want to set, the way I'm going to work on setting this shot up this week is on these types of curl shots. The way I normally like to work it, instead of trying to do, sometimes you're just trying to bring yourself, you're facing off this way and you're just trying to bring yourself out and you just want to stop right there. So you're just putting a little teeny bit of curl on. You're putting enough curl on just to bring it back to the fairway. Or if you hit a great to the right, you wanted everything to go to the left. If you hit a great to the right and you put that little bit of curl on there, it'll make the spin. So on these types of shots where I'm trying to, like, I could try and get down there if I had my trajectory right. What I normally do is I pick rings here. So it's like 4.5 rings or 4 rings off of that transitional surface. I'm facing out in this direction. I put max curl on it. And max curl brings me right over to the middle and runs me out down towards the end. So if you got a quarterback or a rock, even possibly a big topper, because if you're using your quarterback, you might, if you brought out a big enough ball, a 3 or 4 power ball, you could probably get up into the range where you could use those clubs to get over there. Side spin would help on the drive. Power will help on the drive. Wind's not necessarily as big a factor on the drive, but the other two are big. When you're coming into the cup, the last time we were here, there's 2 ways to come into the cup. You can bounce off of this island, so if you end up short, or if you brought the wrong wood, you can bounce off this island and then try and use topspin to get up. You can also start off on the other side if you hit out here far enough. The farther you hit forward, the more your opportunity is to catch the other side, and the bigger the ball and the distance on the club. So if you bring a 3-power ball, you're really going to have to bring a big dog or an upper developed guardian. If you bring yep, that's what you're going to have to do. There is an adjustment on this. The last time we played this hole, I recognized what I was trying to do was I was trying to set myself, and I didn't really care where I was going towards the cup. I set myself a couple rings off of the sand, and I was taking a shot, just doing a normal adjustment and seeing like how close I was to the sand. Like, was it pushing me off? And I did notice that depending on wind direction here, there was in some cases it was like 10 to 25% that it was pushing me off. So when we get on this hole, the second shot, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of an adjustment, and it kind of rolls down off the back. And it seems like you're going to overhit. If you got a big dog, it seems like you're going to overhit it. But this green, the ball guide's kind of lying, especially if you got something that's got really good ball guide, like a guardian, upper developed guardian, or a sniper. If you can get over there with a sniper, the ball guide's going to lie just a little bit. I think it actually hits a little longer than what the cup. Like, you may have to go through the cup in order to get to it. Maybe. I'll say maybe on that one. All right, that was hole number 3. Hole number 4 is Nordic Fjords, hole number 8. All right, okay, so this is hole number 4 of the tournament, and I think that this might possibly be one of the most hole-in-oneable holes in the game as far as par 4s. I think when I shot the video that I put in the clip, I had one. I've gotten 2 hole-in-ones on par 4s, and there's a couple other par 4s out there that are like really serious opportunities for par 4s, and I hope they never take those types of holes out of the game. But this is definitely one of those holes that if you can get your trajectory right, and I believe the last time we played this, I was using a power 4 ball, and it got me over so that I could get over to the other side, and I was just trying to walk it up to the cup. And I was working on ball guide, like where I needed to be and how much of an adjustment I needed to make, and getting some pretty close shots. You've got to hit it perfect. That's the deal. There is a very small little window down here, and you really need to hit the ball perfect. If you brought out a power 5 ball, you can open up that window a little bit and get more out into the fairway. It's getting over the sand. So you got to get your stuff right in order to get over there and stop at the cup. But this is an awesome par 4. If anybody comes out to this hole and they're shooting out into this area, they're basically relegating. I mean, you're going to have to take a shot. It's not that you can't make it, but this is a shorter side over here. So you're going to have to bring a club that can handle a little bit more backspin. There's probably several different ways that you can come at it from over here, but you're probably more than likely going to need backspin. Whereas when you're coming at it this way, you can feed it up. And why wouldn't I go for a shot that I could potentially get hole-in-one? My worst, like you could end up in the sand, you could end up in the rough. The risk here is that if you do any max overpower shots on a hole like this, the thing is that see all this blue shit? This is agua. This is the drink. And so when you're on these types of holes in these courses, especially these Nordic Fjord holes, stay away from the drink. And you can stay away from the drink by, I will tell you, when these holes first came out, we burned through a ton of big balls that week. And like every ball they offered that week, I think was a big ball. And we went through a ton of big balls that week. I mean, there's 45 holes in a tournament, and it had to be a pretty big chunk that we went through power 4 and power 5 balls, because it made the hole so much easier and more consistent. And so if you're looking to get up towards the top, a bigger ball is definitely going to help. Definitely going to help. I'm just the messenger, man. I didn't make the holes. I don't make the rules. I don't make any money. PD is the ball manufacturer. We just play by their stuff. All right, hole number 5. Nordic Fjords, hole number 2. And a 3-hole set here with Nordic Fjords. All right, we just played this hole in a tournament not too long ago, and this is, I'm telling you, when you watch the video, I had super high hopes. I'm going to go back to what I did in the video that I put in the playlist, because the last time we were here, I tried a rough bump down here. I tried coming at it down in this area and just doing the backspin. I've tried being out into this area up here and trying to bring it around. But what I did there was I used a sniper and a quasar, and I was pretty dang close to like minimum club. I was way up here, and I was able to get back where my first bounce is here and my second bounce is here. And by the time I got to the green, I was able to actually get my ball guide to engage. And I remember in that tournament, that was the Christmas Links. I think I came in second in that tournament. I got a lot of these holes down, and I had some success that week on this hole, and I was hitting it from way in the hill back here. And I may go back to that, because the last time we had this in a tournament, I tried the rough bump, but I was getting my results on the end down here were so inconsistent, it wasn't even funny. This is not as far downhill as this, and this is not as far as downhill as this. So this is farther up the hill, so it may take less adjustment. So I'm going to go back and try the shot from way back in the back here, and I'm just going to work on that shot this week. And I'm just going to pick a spot out here, something I can triangulate, and I'm going to continue to work that spot. And hopefully, if we have a little bit of tailwind, it wouldn't be that bad if we had just a little teeny bit of headwind. And I think the last time we were on this hole, we had slight headwind, because I'd like to just pull up to my minimum red line so that I'm right at the red line, and then pull it forward. And that way I can put one ring off where I'm at my red line, or excuse me, 2 rings off where I'm at my red line, and go for it from that spot. I'm going to find a spot out there, but it's going to be way back there. I'm trying to get as far away from that hole and then trying to sneak up on it. Hole number 6, Maple Bay. Hole number 9. Da-na-na-na. What is Maple Bay, hole number 9? All right, we've played this hole several times more than just the tournaments that are in here. We played this hole 2 or 3 times already this year. Now there are several ways that you can. There's 2 primary ways to go on the drive. You're either trying to hit to the left or the right. So you're either trying to get down into this area, or you're trying to get over to here. So getting over to here, I've taken this shot and I've ended up over here, but I don't like this shot, because the way that the green is running, everything's kind of running in this direction, and this is all sloping like this. So this whole peninsula out here, there's like a ridge up here, and everything on this side is sloping down. And so when you're coming at it, you're dealing with this slope all the way to the cup. I mean, every single thing in front of you is slope. When you're down here at the bottom and you're coming in at it, you're coming in at an angle so that the closer you get to the hole, you're actually trying to ride right along where it drops off. Let's see if we can get that in the image. We can see like the shadow here. Hold on. Let me scroll a little closer. You can see these indentations in the right here. And these indentations, it's all running downhill. So when you're coming at it from over here, you're coming at it and everything's running down the hill. But when you're coming at it from this direction, where you're coming at it from here, you've got more of the flat. And I always like to come at holes where I'm trying to avoid all of those hills. Because like in real golf, when you involve the backboard, the break is super important. Like you can just a little teeny bit of speed and you can hit through the break, and a little teeny less speed and you don't catch the break, or the break catches you too soon and then you fall way off. And so it's always better if you can come at the green from the side where it's flat, like it's up on a tier, and you want to be on that tier as opposed to down below or on the side. So I don't normally like to play that other side, the left. And the other thing I don't like about the left is I don't like at the very end of my run to hope that I can get my tail to bleed out of the rough. There are a couple par 4s that I will admit that I've taken big shots on, trying to, like at the very last gasp, you're trying to roll out of the rough to get over there. And you can get nicely over there where you can get your bounces right and you can catch it and you can clear it. But I see a lot of people get caught up in this area, and I see a lot of people make it over. It's about a 50-50 shot, but I just don't really like the look at it from here. This shot down here is super, because you can bring out a QB or a rock, big side spin clubs. And so you can set up with and I'll have to go through and practice this hole, or it's going to be with my rock, it's going to be somewhere I can hit forward with my rock. But if I hit from up here with my QB or my rock, it's going to be where I'm 3.5 rings off of this transitional surface between the rough and the fairway. And my ball guide's going out like this, and I'm trying to get down here, and my opponent's thinking I'm batshit crazy. And you get up there to the ball and you don't put any overpower on it. You put max curl. Those clubs have tons of curl. And you're just kind of walking. And so instead of the shot coming in like this, where it was straight, like your ball guide said, the shot came in from out here and it's going like this, and it's just bleeding down towards it. You do not, if you use a rock, you do not. You're going to have to use, if you hit it from down here, you're going to have to use some backspin. If you hit it from up here, you're only going to have to put on like 1 or 2 topspin. Not very much. If you've got a QB, you can overdrive it if you've got an upper developed QB. If you put all the topspin on it, you can end up in the sand down here. And that's what they call big, big trouble. Big trouble. So if you end up down in this area nicely, you have several different ways that you can approach this cup. So if you're down in this area, get my pen to work, down in this area, you can, one, bounce over from here, clear the rough, and then run up to the cup. And that's a great sniper shot. Awesome sniper. There is a rough bump that you can do here. And depending on the level of your sniper, you may have enough topspin in a sniper, but you can also bring a horizon. And even though horizon doesn't have a lot of accuracy, here's the problem with the horizon. Here's the perfect, and here's the half ring, which I have no freaking clue what it represents. And here's the main ring, and the next full ring, the red ring. Okay. Let's say you hit a perfect, and you made a great wind adjustment with horizon. It goes right where you aimed it. Okay, but if you hit a 1 ring great to the right or 1 ring great to the left, well, here's the outside of perfect. So here's half of 1 ring great. So you hit it all the way out to there. So that means that on your horizon, if it's lower developed where it's got the 2.8, or even when it's in it's 2.4 range, if you're let's say you're in the 2.8 range and you hit it perfect, well, it goes where you aimed it. You got a great shot. But if you hit a 1 ring great to the left or the right, you're 2.8 miles per hour off. That's like a 3 ring. I mean, equate it out. That's like a 3 ring great with a quarterback. And think about how bad shit happens when you hit 3 rings great on a quarterback. So the problem with horizon is that a 1 ring great to the left or the right is way off, like way off. So there's risks when you bring a horizon, but this is a great hole for a horizon, because if you're off to the left or the right, you're still in the rough and you're bleeding off towards the cup and you just missed it. This is a great shot for horizon. But a sniper will also work. A guardian will work really well as well. So if you're down in this area and you need distance, you don't have an upper developed sniper, you don't feel comfortable with horizon, but you can use any level horizon because horizon gets topspin really quick. Big dog, extra high level guardian. All right, that was that hole. This is a great hole to get Albion. And if I remember correctly, on this hole, we were doing an adjustment. It was a small adjustment. I'm not sure if we were taking a little bit off or if we were adding a little bit on. Whatever it was a very small adjustment. All right, that was hole number 9. Hole number 7 of the tournament is Nordic Fjords. Back on Nordic Fjords, hole number 6. We just played this hole in a tournament too, and the demo that I put in here is really the way that I'm going to go at it. It's power 5 ball, gets you right over the outside edge. And depending on which way they give us wind, you may or may not have to put on any overpower if you use power 5 ball. If you got an extra mile 8, if you got an extra mile 6 or an extra mile 7, it'll be a little bit tougher because you're going to have to use overpower even if you use a power 5 ball. I think just the deal is that you'll you could probably get out here if the wind was blowing in the right direction and you use the wind. But the deal is you're not going to get far enough up here with a level 6, level 7, or anything lower than that. You're going to have to use some overpower in order to get you farther up here so that you can end up farther on the backside. You can get up with a level 7, so you can get up with a level 6 extra mile. But if you've got an upper developed extra mile, or you've got a big apocalypse, and everybody may scoff at the level 5 apocalypse, but with the club card trading, it's super easy to get your clubs maxed out if you're participating in it. So people are getting those clubs. I went 2.5 years without an apocalypse, and would have, right now, I would still have a level 1, level 2 apocalypse. But because of the club card trading, I've been able to get it up to level 4, and I think I'm 6 or 7 cards away, or 4 cards away from level 5. So now the club card trading's out, it's awesome. But we can get over to this side and get up. There is a backboard on this green. And so if you end up in this area, there is a good chance that you could roll back down to the cup if you get on the backside. But it's going to be all about top spin, about getting up there. I found myself a lot where I'm just up here in the front and I have to chip on. It's not the easiest chip. It's not the hardest chip, but it's definitely a chip that you want to hit perfect on. This is definitely a hole that we want to get pick up a shot on. We're going to have to, in order to keep up with the Joneses, we're going to have to get a hole. Really, when we talk about minimum score, this hole right here is there's another par 4 here that we can almost get a hole in one on. These two par 4s are almost, you have to get an eagle or you're going to be behind. So I mean, right there we're at minus 14 as the minimum score, not including any of the rest of the stuff. So we really have to pick up these 2 shots just to stay in touch with the people that are at the top of the bracket. All right, that was hole number 6. Hole number 8, or excuse me, that was hole number 6 of Nordic Fjords. That was hole number 7 of the tournament. Hole number 8 is Maple Bay. Hole number 3. All right, in the video I show, like, I see a lot of people shoot this shot from over here, and you'll have to watch other people. There is a shot that you can do from over here, but I'm never a fan of, why would I put this, I'm putting the sand and the rough into play. Not that I'm not putting the sand and the rough into play with the rough bump up here, but I'm trying to hit over them when I can be in front of them. And so I've never really been into this shot. I've taken it a few times to see what it looks like over there, and it's not my cup of tea. There is a shot that you can do from over here where you're on the side and your ball guide's going to be running out kind of like this. And if you've got a big side spin ball, you can pick up most of it. But in order to pick up all of it, you have to push yourself farther forward and you have to push yourself to the left. So I see a lot of people down in this area where they're like a half of a millimeter. They're half of a millimeter. And then they're half of that away from that transitional surface. And so they have nothing at all on the left-hand side. They have nothing. If they breathe to the left, if the wind, whatever, there's no room at all to the left. So they set themselves up so they only have 2 out of 3. And, you know, if you catch a perfect or you catch a great to the right, you're fine. But if you catch a great to the left, you put yourself in a spot where you were going to end up epic failing out here. And that's really bad. So if you're going to take the shot out here, you have to use that dreaded word curl. And if you use curl, it's not, I can tell you with curl, you can set this up so that you end up in this area and you take your putt and you move the hell on every single time. And there's very little risk. And you can leave yourself 3 rings off of this and just use curl to bring yourself around. You could use a Saturn. Even a low-level Saturn's got some curl on it. If you push yourself forward, you can continue to push yourself forward so that you can get your ball guide to go straight at the cup. But in order to do that, you're going to start up in the front. You're going to have to use backspin to pinch it up on that. And that's another great shot for a Saturn or a Grim Reaper. The other way that you can come at this hole is you can start off in this rough right here and you can go straight at the cup. And I know that in one-on-one playing, it usually takes me 1 or 2 times of playing this, and I remember the number. I think it's either a +10 or a +20%. There's some number here that I use when I'm in the sand. I think I use 10% if it's any wind other than headwind, and if it's headwind, I use 20. Don't hold me to that. We'll have to play this hole a few times and remember how to play it. But I'm definitely going to be using this rough bump to try and get a hole-in-one on this hole. And this is a very nice rough bump. And you can, depending on which way the wind's blowing, we can find the spot out here so that hopefully the wind is blowing somewhere in like along with the rough, so that it's blowing like somewhere in, this range here, so that we can adjust with the rough, so that instead of having to get into the sand. So I guess I will have to wait before I make judgment. It looks to me like over here we've got a pretty deep sand trap, and over here it may run a little bit smoother. So the sand may not be as big an issue if you have to adjust over it. But if there's a lip here and when you adjust over it, it jumps, I'm going to definitely pick a different spot. Or bring a low wind ball, something to cut the wind down to the minimalist that I can cut it down so that I don't have to get over that sand. All right, that was hole number 8. Hole number 9 is Maple Bay. Hole number 2. Let's see what they got in store for us for hole number 18. Oh yeah, this is a tough hole. And this is another one of those holes that with a rock, you can get way out to the tip. And the deal here is that getting way out here to the tip is not the second shot. There is a rough bump that's on this second shot where you can come and clip that rough and try and go straight at the cup. But you got to get far enough out here and bring a big enough ball so that you can get out into that area. And you can bring a sniper. You can do it because the way that the rough is down there, it doesn't take a whole bunch of movement to get it out. You could bring a Guardian, upper developed Guardian. You could do it with a big dog, but man, that rough down there would blow with a big dog as far as the ring size. You want to get down there far enough that you can get into your sniper range. So take this shot a few times and with several different balls. I would not come to this hole with anything less than a power 3. Just because when we're talking about second shots where you got to get distance, where you're out into that range and that big dog is being brought into the conversation, unless once you've taken that shot a few times, you'll get a feel for what the deal is. But if big dog is in the equation, you need to help it out by bringing a power 3 ball. I don't know what the deal is with this out here, unless it's an upper for people who are playing Masters and they're trying to get up into this range as far as they can possibly get out here so that they can try and bring it around to the cup this way. Because the distance wise, if you go arc like we're here and you do the arc for like what a long iron what a wood could reach, it's the same distance out here as it is from right here. It's the same distance right here as it is from over here. You're on that arc. That you're outside the range where a power 5 ball in a wood is going to get you up there. So you're going to be using this area right here, and you're going to be trying to bring it around and roll down towards the cup. And I've taken this shot a few times, and I've seen a bunch. Typically, when I get on this hole and somebody takes this route over here, as long as I can get on the green in 2, I win, because they're going to end up trying to press the issue. And even if they end up in the fairway out here, I'm still ahead of them. This is the area down here that we want to be hitting to. And we want to, depending on how far we can get down, is going to determine what kind of club we need or where we can hit. But this rough bump, if you can get up to that point, that's the best way to go at it. A lot of rough bumps in these tournaments. All right, how much time did that take? I think I breezed through some of those holes. That was 40 minutes. Look at that. Look at that, Dale. I got a walkthrough scouting report done in less than 50 minutes. Is that a record? All right. I'm curious. Some of these Maple Bay holes I haven't played in a long time. Some of them I've played and they've been in different stuff, and we've played them in different tours, and I don't remember them. I think some of the ones that were in, they were in several other tournaments here recently, and so they had all of the Maple Bay were in stuff, and we've played them. These holes are really fun to play. There's a lot of areas to get in trouble, but there's a lot of opportunities to pick up shots in this tournament. So we'll have to go through. Right now, I'm thinking that the minimum score is minus. It's like it always is. The minimum score always starts with minus 12. And we've got two of the par fours here that I think we're going to have to get eagles on. So that makes it minus 14. And so that's minus 28. And that's where the score starts. You need to be bigger than minus 28 in order to start thinking about trying to get that top 10, that top 5, that banner, and going up from there. But as the week goes on, there's several of these par threes that are very makeable as well. So we'll have to see how it plays out. All right. That is the Northern Open Scouting Report. Thanks for watching.